Desert night, pitch black. The kind of darkness that makes you feel swallowed whole. The wind howled through sharp, rocky canyons. Every gust carried with it the taste of sand and danger. Then, machine gun fire erupted, echoing against stone. Walls like thunder. An American SEAL team crouched in the dirt, surrounded from every side. Ammunition almost gone. Blood streaked down faces. Eyes darted wildly, searching for an escape route that didn't exist. One soldier whispered, his voice shaking, his throat dry, "This is it. No one's coming. We're already dead men." Hopelessness spread through the team like wildfire. Men who had survived countless battles suddenly knew. This one was different. This valley was their grave. But then, crack. A single rifle shot split the night. The entire valley froze. Silence swallowed the battlefield, and one enemy fighter dropped instantly. The SEALs stared in shock. "What the hell was that?" someone whispered. Hope flickered, because sometimes all it takes is one shot, one invisible guardian to change everything. But who was it? Who fired that shot from the ridge? To answer that, we need to go back to the story of Isabella Torres. She was 27. Small. Frame? Auburn hair tied tightly in a bun. Not the kind of soldier people noticed when they entered a room. Born and raised in the harsh mountains of New Mexico, Isabella grew up in rugged terrain. While other kids played video games, she was out, in the cold with her father, learning the hunt. Hours spent tracking deer across unforgiving rock faces. Days spent studying the wind, learning patience, learning silence. Her father always told her, "Mija, you don't need many shots in life, but the ones you do take must count for everything." That lesson would become her truth. When she enlisted in the military, her dream was clear. She wanted to be a sniper, to serve with the same precision she had trained for her whole life. But the army had different plans. "That Barrett's too heavy for you, Torres," her commanding officer scoffed during her first week. "Stick to radios, logistics, support work." And, just like that, they gave her a nickname. Tag-along, a cruel label, a reminder that in their eyes she wasn't a real soldier. She was just the extra weight following behind. At the rifle range, Isabella carefully adjusted her scope, every motion slow and precise. She treated her weapon like a craftsman with his finest tool. "The men?" They laughed. "What are you doing?" "Sweetheart, trying to shoot the moon," they mocked. She ignored them, focused, patient, silent. During mission briefings, she suggested overwatch positions, like the northern ridge, a vantage point no one else had considered. The room burst out in laughter. "That climb will kill you before the enemy does," one soldier shouted. Dismissed, ignored, always pushed to the background. But Isabella never complained. She listened, she learned, she trained, night after night, while her teammates drank beer and swapped war stories. Isabella disappeared into the training ground, alone, in the freezing sand. Lying flat on her stomach, breathing steady, practicing trigger control until her finger felt like steel, studying bullet trajectories, memorizing ballistics charts. She was building something no one else could see, because while they underestimated her, Isabella understood the truth. Being overlooked and was her greatest weapon. Every laugh, every insult, every dismissal, they didn't break her. They sharpened her. She was becoming something lethal, something patient, something ready. And one day soon, the world would find out. This was Isabella Torres, the quiet soldier, the tag-along, the one nobody believed in. And yet, on that desert night when the SEALs were left for dead, it was Isabella who climbed toward the ridge. It was Isabella who picked up her rifle, and it was Isabella who would fire the shot that changed everything. The mission orders sounded simple. Rescue 3 American engineers, bring them home alive. Intelligence claimed there would be about 20 fighters, light weapons, poor coordination. It should have been a 20-minute extraction, but intelligence was dead wrong. The helicopter blades thundered through the night sky. The SEAL team fast-roped into the valley, and then chaos exploded. Machine gun fire erupted from every ridge. Not 20 enemies, not poorly trained fighters, but hundreds, well-armed, well-trained, well-prepared. RPGs screamed overhead, slamming into canyon walls. Explosions lit up the night like lightning strikes. The ground shook beneath their boots. What was supposed to be a rescue became an ambush. The SEAL team scattered into 3 groups, Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, each trying desperately to take cover in ruined stone buildings. But no matter where they hid, enemy fire rained down from above. Alpha pinned, Bravo hit with heavy fire, Charlie taking RPGs from 3 sides. Rodriguez's voice came over the radio, urgent, breaking with static. "Base, this is Talon 6. We are surrounded, outnumbered. Ammunition running low. Request immediate evacuation." The reply? Cold. Crushing. Talon 6. Negative on air support. Weather conditions prevent helicopters. You're on your own until dawn. Dawn. 7 long hours away. Isabella sat with the communications team, her Barrett rifle resting across her knees, listening, hearing her brothers slowly being pushed toward. Death One soldier whispered exactly what everyone felt. "We won't last 30 minutes. The math was brutal. 22 Americans against more than 200 enemy fighters, and the enemy had every advantage. Numbers, elevation, firepower. For Isabella, an internal war began. If she followed orders, she'd stay put. Rear support. Only. And she would watch her team die. But if she broke protocol, if she climbed the ridge she had suggested during planning, maybe, just maybe, she could change the fight. Fear surged inside her chest. What if she missed? What if she exposed herself and gave away her position? What if, instead of saving them, she doomed them all? Her hands trembled, her heart pounded. But then, anger rose. Anger at every insult, every laugh, every time they had told her she couldn't do it, and through the roar of gunfire she heard her father's voice. "When everyone says it's over, Mija, that's when your shot matters most." She knew. This was that moment. With crystal clarity, Isabella made her choice. She keyed her radio, her voice calm. Communications maintaining position. It was a lie. Her last transmission before breaking. Orders. She grabbed her Barrett, extra ammo, her rangefinder, and she began to climb. The ridge was exactly as the men had mocked it. Steep, brutal, exposed. Sharp rocks sliced her hands and knees. Her gear weighed 35 pounds, dragging her down with every step. But she climbed anyway. Below her, the valley shook with battle. Each explosion told her the SEALs were still alive, but barely. Every burst of machine gun fire meant time was running out. She pushed on. 1 meter at a time, her breath ragged, her muscles burning. Fear whispered, "You won't make it." But determination answered, "I have to." At last, she reached the ridge. She crawled into position, flattening herself against cold stone. The northern ridge stretched before her, high above the battlefield. Through her scope, the valley opened like a map. She could see everything, every enemy muzzle flash, every ambush position, every trap. And suddenly, she understood. The vantage point no one believed in was the key to saving them all. Isabella whispered a prayer her father had taught her before every hunt. 1 shot. Make it count. Then she placed her cheek against the stock, her finger brushing the trigger. For the first time, it was her turn to rewrite the story. Rodriguez was seconds away from ordering surrender. His men were bleeding, ammo nearly gone, the enemy closing in. Then, crack. 1 shot rang out from the ridge. The heavy machine gun chewing through their defenses went silent. Its gunner collapsed. The SEALs froze, staring into the night. "Who fired that?" Rodriguez shouted. Before anyone could answer, crack, crack, another shot, then another. An RPG team dropped before they could fire. A sniper's nest vanished in silence. The mortar crew, gone before they could launch their next round. The valley, once alive with enemy fire, grew strangely quiet. The enemy's was unraveling. Rodriguez raised his binoculars, and what he saw stole his breath. There she was, Isabella Torres, lying flat among the boulders, her Barrett steady, unshakable. her body almost invisible in the shadows. The woman they had mocked as tag-along was single-handedly dismantling an army. But Isabella wasn't just firing wildly. Every shot was precise, calculated, deadly. First, the machine gunners, the ones pinning the Americans down. Gone. Then, the RPG, operators, the ones who could shatter their last cover. Gone. Next, the radio spotters, the men coordinating the enemy fire. Gone. And finally, the officers, the ones barking orders, directing the chaos. Gone. Each shot flipped the battlefield piece by piece. Like chess, Isabella removed the most dangerous pieces first. And with every bullet, the SEALs gained just a little more ground. Down in the valley, confusion spread among the enemy. Their overwhelming advantage, crumbling. Fear set in, because how do you fight an enemy you can't even see? How do you stop a ghost firing from the ridge? The Americans began to move again, careful, hopeful. For the first time in hours, they weren't dying. They were fighting back. Rodriguez's radio crackled. A calm voice cut through the chaos. Guardian Angel. To Talon 6. Move northeast toward the compound. I'll cover you. Guardian Angel. That was what she called herself. Not Torres. Not tag-along. Guardian Angel. Rodriguez looked up at the ridge again. His heart pounded. He knew. He was witnessing something that would be told in military history for decades. A single sniper, changing the outcome of an entire war zone. Isabella shifted positions constantly, never fired from the same spot twice, never gave the enemy snipers a chance to find her. Through shadows, through jagged rocks, she moved like she was part of the terrain itself, her breathing steady, her eyes focused, her hands cold as stone, and with every shot, the enemy lost control. Confidence shattered, men abandoned their posts, coordinated attacks collapsed into scattered chaos. The tide was turning, but the battle wasn't over. Through her scope, Isabella spotted him, the commander, the enemy leader. He barked orders, rallying his men for one last assault. If he succeeded, the SEALs would still be overrun. But he was smart. He kept moving. He stayed behind cover. He knew a sniper was hunting him. This shot would be the most difficult of Isabella's life. The distance? 200 meters, almost 3/4 of a mile. The wind, swirling unpredictably through the canyon. The target, erratic, fast, alert. She had one chance, one bullet, and 22 lives depending on it. Isabella closed her eyes for a second. Her father's voice echoed in her mind. One shot, Mija. Make it count. She exhaled slowly, adjusted her scope, calculated the wind, waited. The commander stepped into the open. Now. The Barrett roared. The round cut through the desert air at 3,000 feet per second. Through his binoculars, Rodriguez saw the commander collapse instantly, his radio scattering into the dirt, and just like that, the enemy broke. Panic swept the valley. Leaderless, terrified of the invisible ghost sniper above them, the fighters abandoned their positions. Within minutes, the battlefield went silent. Only. The desert wind remained, 22 Americans alive, saved by less than 30 shots from a ridge no one believed could even be reached. That night, Isabella Torres became something more than a soldier. She became a legend, the woman they mocked, the one they called tag-along, the quiet one in the room. She had saved them all. Dawn broke over the desert. The extraction helicopters finally cut through the morning haze, rotors kicking up clouds of sand and dust. The valley that had been hell hours earlier was silent now. Silent because of one sniper on a ridge. The SEALs climbed aboard the helicopters, still in disbelief. Rodriguez kept staring up at that northern ridge, the place he had mocked, the place Isabella had climbed in the dark, the place that had saved them all. And when Isabella stepped onto the helicopter, Barrett slung across her back, face streaked with dust and blood. No one dared call her tag-along again. When they landed back at Falcon Base, word had already spread. Whispers carried through every corridor. A single sniper had saved 22 SEALs from certain death. Soldiers and officers poured out from the buildings. Men who had once mocked her now stood in silence as she walked past. For the first time, they looked at her with something new. Respect. Rodriguez approached her, his voice heavy with guilt and gratitude. "Torres, what you did up there, we owe you everything." Isabella simply nodded. Calm, professional. She hadn't done it for recognition. She had done it because it was the right thing to do. Then a hush fell over the crowd. Colonel Whitaker emerged, a man known for his ice-cold demeanor, for never showing emotion. In 15 years, only a handful had ever seen him give true praise. Walked straight up to Isabella, stopped 3 feet away, and then he raised his hand, a crisp, formal salute. The entire base froze, mouths fell open. Even hardened SEALs stood in stunned silence. The colonel's salute was a gesture reserved for acts of extraordinary valor, and Isabella Torres had just earned it. Lowering his hand, Whitaker's voice carried across the base. "What you accomplished last night will be studied for decades to come. 27 confirmed kills, in darkness, at ranges exceeding 800 meters. No friendly casualties. That is textbook perfection under combat conditions." He paused. The crowd listened, breathless. "But more important than your accuracy," he continued, "was your initiative. You took a position everyone else dismissed as impossible, and you proved that sometimes the greatest limitation is the way we think." Isabella met his gaze. Her voice steady. "Just doing my duty, sir." The colonel almost smiled, something nobody thought possible. "Torres, you didn't just do your duty, you redefined it." From that moment, Isabella Torres was no longer the tag-along. She was the sniper who had saved a SEAL team when the world thought they were lost, but recognition didn't change her. 3 days later, Rodriguez found her back at the range, alone, training again. "Torres," he said softly, "you don't have to prove anything anymore." Isabella adjusted her scope, fired another round. "I'm not proving anything, Sergeant. I'm preparing, because next time the distance might be longer, the wind stronger, the stakes higher." Rodriguez watched her in silence, and then he realized the truth. Isabella's greatness didn't come from that one night. It came from years of preparation, patience, and relentless self-discipline. She wasn't training to silence doubters. She was training to be ready, when readiness meant survival. 6 months later, Isabella was selected for Advanced Sniper Instructor School, the first woman in history to hold that position. On her final night at Falcon Base, her teammates gathered to honor her. Rodriguez raised a cup of coffee in a quiet toast. "To Torres, the one who taught us that the most dangerous mistake is underestimating the person sitting right beside you." But Isabella's story didn't end with the team. Her name spread quietly through military circles. Young women in training whispered her story as proof that anything was possible. Her lesson became a motto: "Don't train to prove doubters wrong. Train to be ready when readiness determines everything." And the ridge, that brutal, impossible climb where she saved 22 lives, was officially renamed Overwatch Point Torres, marked forever on military maps, so that every soldier who passed that place would know that once in the dead of night a lone sniper had saved them all. So remember this: the quietest person in the room, the one no one believes in. Sometimes they carry the loudest victory.